Good afternoon, good evening, and to many others, good morning. We are international. My name is Dr. Tovah Goldfine. This is TMS RoundTable Recovery, and we are streaming live each week for the past 6 years. We are meeting doctors and health professionals and scientists and authors and many individuals like our guest tonight who have either healed and recovered or are in their process of recovery, because it's all a journey. So I am one blessed human being. And tonight's guest, it's an interesting twist of like full circle, because I started this show, this broadcast with Rose. May she rest in peace. We love you, Rose, up there in the heavens. We started around COVID time, and I remember calling Michael Galinsky and saying, I got to do something. I got to do something and help people. And he's like, stop being a damsel in distress. Just start some program and I'll help you. Michael Galinsky from All the Rage. And he said, call Rose. She's in Australia. She'll help you. So I called Rose and we got together and we had our first broadcast in, I think it was April 2019 with Michael Galinsky. The second broadcast, I'm not sure how we found Laura Haraka, but somehow we found you. We'll have to figure it out. And we asked Laura to be a guest because she had an amazing healing recovery from some really horrendous pelvic symptoms, I remember. And I remember having Laura on. I remember she had a migraine before the show, but she showed up. And then what happened was, I believe she became a coach, started studying mindfulness and somatic experiencing. And Fabienne at the time was in our community. I remember seeing your name, this beautiful name, Fabienne Mathgen. And I know something with your pelvis, something with going on. I don't remember exactly. And then a few months ago, I connect with you because I love Facebook. We all have this loving relationship with Facebook. And I connect with Fabienne, and she said Laura had helped her recover. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to reach out to the two of you and bring you into the round table and have the discussion. Now, I want to speak a little bit about each of you, but more so, even more important is, let's just start the discussion so the listeners can hear us. We don't have to even say a word about, there are thousands of women and men who are suffering with pelvic conditions, from bladder, interstitial cystitis, all types of pudendal neuralgia and everything. I mean, thousands on Facebook.
Yes.
And I want them all to hear us loud and clear that healing and recovery is possible. And so in this discussion tonight, I'm going to first ask Laura to speak a little bit about her recovery and her coaching and how she met Fabienne. And that's what brings us here. That's what I'm excited about. So I'm going to sit back a little bit. You start, Laura, and Fabienne, you want to chime in. This is a round table. Our
Sure.
listeners are here. They're going to ask questions soon. Let's speak with them. Let's leave our insights and methods of healing and inspire this evening. So thank you so much for joining my holy studio. Laura, I'm so happy to see you.
I am thrilled to be here today. It's like everything has just come full circle from the time we met 6 years ago, I think it was. And I believe I was your second guest on the roundtable. Time has really went by.
Two. It's
Yeah.
now about, it's over 300 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were number 2. Yeah. So go ahead. Tell us
Yeah,
what
so
happened then.
I was diagnosed with chronic pelvic pain, and I started traveling basically all over the United States, reaching out to doctors, practitioners, in the medical field, not only in the medical field, but holistic practitioners as well, just trying to do anything to relieve my pelvic symptoms. And I spent thousands of dollars, and my mental health was completely deteriorated at the time. I had no relationship with my family either. And fortunately, I found the world of mind body medicine And I started digging deeper and digging deeper, and everything just clicked that I had a mind body condition. And I started doing the work with a somatic experiencing practitioner, with a therapist, and honestly, a lot of work on my own. I really did. And I used somatic experiencing and breath work, and I healed from chronic pelvic pain. And my life completely changed. And I don't really know how you found me. I'm not really, I don't really even remember, but I remember getting a message on Facebook asking me if I would be a guest. And I didn't have pelvic pain anymore. And I remember being so nervous that I actually developed a migraine. The day before, I was literally bedbound with a migraine. I'm being honest. I was literally in bed, and I got myself together and I was able to be okay and get on the round table and share my story. I just tried to remember what my purpose was, what my intention was. And I wanted to share my story so that other people knew that they could heal from chronic pelvic pain as well. So after your live, I guess we should call it, the roundtable, my phone started ringing off the hook. And I will tell you, I had hours, up to 7 hours of day where I was just talking to people on the phone, letting them know they could recover, giving them tips. And one person said to me, I would pay you to talk to me. And I never even thought about it. I was a math teacher. So this was not even something I even thought about doing ever. And I said, maybe I could do this. So I went back to school and I got my somatic experiencing certification, which is a 3-year certification. I became certified in 4 different kinds of breath work. I took 2 of Dr. Schubner's training to become a mind body practitioner. And I also became a certified mind body coach through the Mind Body Food Institute. Because if I was going to do this, I want to do it right. I want it to be legitimate. And all of a sudden, I remember I was standing in my kitchen at the time and Fabienne called me. And she said, I want you to help me. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And from that point on, we started meeting weekly. And this was happening simultaneously while I was in my training. And it was, such a pleasure and an honor that she trusted me to help her. And I knew I could help her because I knew that people can recover from pelvic pain and mind body symptoms. And we started working together, and the rest is history.
This is perfect. Thanks for helping the hosting. But so Fabian,
Yes.
6 years ago. So at what point in those 6 years at some point you called Laura, and where were you at in your struggle, in your journey? What was going on for you?
Well, I had been in the pain since 2018, June. So it's been 2 years almost, because I think, if I remember correctly, the roundtable was in April. And yeah, and I had tried to, how you do. First, you go all the things with the doctors, and you try to find and cure yourself with Western medicine approaches. And then, yeah, the longer you do that, the more you see that kind of it doesn't improve really. I always call them short-term reliefs, but it doesn't help in the long run. And so I was trying to look online, and honestly, I tried to change my hashtags on Instagram, because usually what you do, you try to Google or insert hashtags like chronic pain, pelvic pain, and there you meet a lot of people that feel hopeless and that don't have the solution. So I tried to change that algorithm a little bit, and that's how I found also the first podcast I remember was, and I think a lot of people at that time were listening to the V-Hive, Hannah, the V-Hive. And then I remember her talking about journal speak. So I followed Nicole Sachs. I tried journaling, but I was very resistant towards it, and it didn't really help as much as I thought it could. Then I went from there to Dan Buglio, and he offered me another side, which resonated a lot with me, which was the more brain science side of it. And I'm not a very esoteric person, so a lot of practices were a little bit woo to me. And what Dan Buglio said was like, hey, this makes actual sense, you know?
Get on with your life. Get on with your life, Dan Buglio said.
Yeah, but it was science-based what he said, you know? But it was a little bit too, not, yeah, I wouldn't say too man-oriented, but I don't know. It was like there was something missing. And I don't even know how, and I don't even know how, but I stumbled upon the roundtable, and there was Laura. And first I listened to you and Rose, and you two, listening to you both, the connection that you had. If you're in chronic pain and you see two people with such a kindness, such kind hearts, willing during a pandemic, helping people that feel isolated and that feel alone and left alone and couldn't even see doctors or therapists, I was like, wow, this is a great place. And then I heard Laura talking, and her story was, that's me. I'm a teacher. I have the same kinds of pain. The way she talked. So this roundtable was, to me, was something where I felt, for the first time in a very long time, I felt like, wow, this is really a nice place to be. I feel comforted. I'm with people that understand it. And yeah, that's how we went from there. And I was convinced after the interview stopped, I was convinced I have to reach out to her. And you asked her name and her Instagram, or I don't know, the Facebook, I don't even remember. But I texted her right after you finished the interview. And I never regretted it, of course.
So give us a little bit of idea, because some of the listeners are going to want to know. And again, I want to, make a point that we're not looking for people that have the same symptoms so you can relate and say, oh, you healed, so I can heal. This is a very individual relationship with any kind of pain, especially sensitive pain like pelvic pain. And, it is such a personal journey. So we're going to just state across the board that chronic pain and autoimmune symptoms are not normal. This is not normal for people to have chronic. We have a medical model. It works for the majority of people. And when it doesn't, we're talking about neuroplastic pain. And we understand that the pain is in the brain. I remember the conversation with Laura briefly. She was seeing therapists. She was not getting relief. And her daughter came home and said, Mom, I want you to see some mindfulness, hypnosis person. And she's like, all right, like, I have nothing to lose. And she's lying on this therapist's table. And whatever the woman's saying to her, she's remembering that she's not experiencing pain. And she didn't even think that there might be a connection between her relaxing and her pain level going down. So this is, again, to my point of our personal story. We're talking about relationship between your mind and your body. And this is something very, very neuroplastic. And that's why we know everyone can heal using these methods. And tonight we're just going to continue to chat more about Fabienne and Laura's process, because it really can speak to so many people, men and women. You're living your life. You're a teacher. You're in Europe. You're raising children. You maybe have some kind of stress, fear, anger. You don't have to go deeply into it, but share a little bit about the timeline of your process for our listeners.
Well, when we first started working together, I think what we all have to acknowledge is that we have to give ourselves time. to heal, no matter what pain you have, you know. So a lot of people, they get frustrated after they have one session or the next. And I have to say, I was a tough one because I had to find literally the tool that worked for me. And it's kind of funny, but because somehow I always think that Laura and me, we grew together because she could like kind of test her new techniques on me, which did not all work on me. They were afterwards. She told me, "Oh, this one worked on this person," and that's something that we need to understand. There are a lot of tools out there, and everybody can find a tool that suits for him. You know, for me, it was more the science-based approach, but what helped me the most, it was the somatic experiencing and the, Laura, you call it, I have to remember, sensation reprocessing
Yes,
techniques.
correct.
Yeah. So that what's helped me the most. But I have met people, because now people keep texting me as well, which is kind of nice, that say, "Oh, should I stop journaling because you talked about the pain?" And I was like, no. You do what is good for you, but you have to be patient, honestly. And I had to learn being patient because I'm not naturally patient. And but what the most beautiful part of all this journey is the thing that you would not believe in when you start, is that you grow, and when you come out of it, it's actually a beautiful journey because you learn so much about yourself. And it's not only the pain that you're healing your whole personality, your trauma, you're healing everything. And I got new perspectives in life. I've been a single for most of the time when I was working with Laura. And I met my knew my husband like only 4 years ago. And now I have a beautiful family, where before I was single and I was frustrated with life. And, so it creates opportunities, when you start working on yourself. So it's not only the pain. Of course, you want to get rid of the pain, but you grow as a whole person. And then eventually the pain is not important anymore, and it goes away.
So, how important in your work with Laura was either the trauma of being single, or some trauma from your childhood, or why it landed in your pelvis and there were bladder issues? Like, was there something significant that you can share about that particular? And we all want to understand the whys. We all want to know. We all want to know exactly what emotion it was and what trauma it was. But for you and working with Laura, was anything significant came
Well,
from that part of your discovery?
of course, I mean, what I knew about me was the biggest trauma I had a plane crash when I was 18. And at the time, that was in 92. And there wasn't much help around where I live. So I had to, probably now I know, I had to find my own coping mechanisms to live with the fear that this experience left behind. And then what I had to acknowledge as well, and that was even bigger to me than the plane crash, was that I was a traumatized person. I still am, but that's not the biggest traumas. That's the small ones. And at one point, Laura told me, "Fabienne, you are a traumatized person." I was like, "Me? I had a good childhood. I mean, I have a good life. I don't have any financial struggles. I have a job. I'm not traumatized." She had told me and taught me, sorry. She taught me, no, it's the little traumas. And, you know, as you get older, how do you say that in English? You accumulate all those little traumas, and eventually, it's like this cup of cup of water that spills over at one point. And I think for a lot of people, they have to, in this world, to function, and especially to function at a high level in so many areas, like professionally and financially and at home and with the kids. and you forget about the little traumas that your body definitely stores. And I'm not a fan of going back necessarily into the traumas. So that's why the somatic experience helped me so much, because I went into the body and looked for the tensions in my body. And I didn't necessarily have to go back and name the trauma, but just feel it. So, yeah.
So I think do I have to go back there, doc? Do I have to go back and dig up old skeletons? And I always want to say, well, if that's how the therapeutic process unfolds, yeah, but do we have to bang pillows and, shoot the person who hurt us? And, I mean, like, and I think for some people to rip up your journaling and pieces of paper and burn it is helpful. Again, it's such a personal, and I'm sure you're finding that, Laura, now as a coach. And I know people, they don't want to move forward until they know exactly what the trauma was, what was the feeling. For them, that's it's okay to have that too. And I mean, let's talk a little bit about that, because I don't want people to feel dragged down by their past. I always say, like, you were a victim then, you were dependent as a child, or God forbid something happened. Now you're an adult. And Rose would say, let's put our big girl pants on, our big boy pants on, and live our life. Now you're in the present, and now you're fully free, you're safe. And now you're responsible for healing. So how do you frame that in your work, Lauren? How did you feel about that, Fabienne?
Sure. For my work with Fabienne, she really responded to somatic experiencing. And by the way, Fabienne, you really articulated everything extremely well. I just want to pause and say that. You really did. So you should really be proud of yourself for doing that. And there are so many tools. And when I showed Fabienne some of the breath work, she didn't respond as much to that. But the somatic experiencing, she really responded to. And in my work as an SEP, a somatic experiencing practitioner, what we do is we complete unfinished stress responses when necessary. Not by rehashing a story, but by noticing what's happening in the body. And part of my work with Fabienne was something we use in somatic experiencing is called a T line. It's about moving, and T0 would be the point of impact, like when the plane crashed. So we moved way into the future, and we allowed her body to experience that she was safe now. Noticing what was around her and letting her body absorb the safety and letting her body know, oh, I'm okay now, because her body was still living at T0 in that crash.
Yes, exactly.
I think it's a little bit about, I haven't taken the work yet. I'm about to take Dr. Schrubiner's and Dr. Lumley's acceptance, expression.
Emotional awareness therapy. Yeah.
Yes. So, and I think there's something, I mean, again, because it's specific work to go back there. I think this was with Rose and the ISTDP work. It's very specific to go back there and be there. And so I'm kind of curious about it, not having a lot of experience with it. Did you experience, do you think, Laura and Fabienne, that, I mean, was it helpful for you to be sitting in the plane ride and being in the crash and experiencing? Is that kind of what it was about?
So I remember extremely clearly, we went back to way before Fabienne even got on the plane, and we noticed what happened in her body. And we did it in very small pieces, because in life, things happen too fast, too quick, and our bodies don't have a chance to respond. Okay. It's kind of like if you go step in traffic and a car almost hits you, you're like, and then all of a sudden, I'm just going to go do the laundry. Well, that response is still there that you weren't able to release. So we went back to like T-5 to like the day before she even got on the plane, and we slowly moved up. And what we did, we didn't go through the actual trauma of the accident. What we did was we created a new corrective experience. And we allowed the plane to land on a pillow or a cloud, if I remember correctly, because this was a long time ago.
Yes.
This, yeah, this was a long time ago we had this session. And
And the hands.
yes.
You remember? It was always the hands. And the hand, she always, I'm sorry, I
What
can't.
about the hands? What about the hands?
Because we worked a lot with the safety in the body. And when Laura would ask me, what can you do to make you feel safe? I was always either rubbing my hands or rubbing my hands on my knees. And then at some point I realized it was my hands that were on the elbows of the seat, and I was holding on to them, and it made me feel safe because that was the only thing during the crash I could hold on to. So at some point she said to me, why is it always the hands? Maybe there's some link with the hands. And until now, when I feel nervous, when I feel scared or anxious, it's my hands. I need to touch something with my hands. And those techniques that you can do over and over again, and that I did when I took the first flight after we met, is things that you can teach your brain, okay, this is a good feeling, this feels safe. And that's the main thing, feeling safe. Yeah.
And I'll just add, if it's okay, with the hands, what we did was we gently tracked Fabienne's body and we pendulated between discomfort and safety. And what that did was recreated some flexibility in her nervous system.
So let me ask, I mean, how can somebody, our listeners, somehow, we're all about self-healing, and how can we take this home and apply it today and feel hope, short of hiring an SE practitioner, which is beautiful work, and there's lots of support and lots of YouTube, so we can help people through this. But what is something someone can do? They know their memory, they know their trauma, and big T's, little T's, what can someone do, Laura, with connecting to their body and understanding that parts of their body we're using our body because I remember I was talking to a patient the other day, he just kept doing this the whole time, with his mustache. And I thought, he's trying to relax. He's trying to relax. So we all have things that we do, I can see myself doing right now different things, I remember. So because we're human, so how can we even accept and love those human behaviors, and be loving and compassionate because we're expressing something deeper, our unconscious, because the body is the unconscious mind. Can you share some little tidbit of what someone can do?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I spent thousands of dollars trying to heal myself. And what I try to do, my goal was to go on with recorded videos every single day on Instagram, TikTok, on Facebook, so I can share little tidbits or little things that people can do to help regulate their nervous system so they don't have to spend thousands of dollars, right? So there's 3 things that I share, and the 3 are orienting, resourcing, and grounding. And orienting is a way to just naturally and gently look around your environment and have your eyes land on something that feels pleasant or neutral. Oh, and look, Tovah, you just took a breath. See, I was watching you. See, that's what I'm trained to do, track people's bodies. So as you notice something that makes you feel good, feel pleasant, it looks nice. We take in the qualities of that, and a breath naturally comes in. And that's one way to show your body you're safe. The second is grounding. And that is basically just feeling your feet on the floor, noticing which parts of your foot are connecting to the surface, which foot is weighed heavier on the ground, noticing your butt on the chair, noticing your spine, just really feeling the connection to the surface you're on. And it can really help people not return to the present. And the third is basically resourcing, almost just imagining a time that where you felt good. It could be a beach vacation. It could be someone that makes you feel safe and supported. It could be a crystal that you really love, and just holding onto it and bringing that resource in. You know, so many people say, "Oh, I'm in pain all day. I'm in pain all day." But there's usually little spaces where you're not. And it's about remembering that little space and bringing it into your visualization, into your mind's eye as a resource, and noticing what happens when you bring that resource in. So those are three just really simple, easy tools that you can do just to show your body that you're safe.
So I want to continue this dialogue. I'm just going to ask if we already have any questions that anyone reaching out on the Facebook page or on YouTube to ask any questions. Bri, are you there? Okay. Fabienne, how did your healing journey impact your family dynamics, and how did you explain this approach to your loved ones?
Well, at the time, as I said before, I was a single mom with a small kid, a daughter. And honestly, how to explain? You don't have, there's nothing to explain, because when you do this kind of work, you're not doing something that other couldn't take part in, first of all. So sometimes when I did some kind of relaxing, or I asked my little daughter to join, and then be open about it. I mean, I don't know what kind of pain the person is talking about, but there's no shame to be in pain, you know? And there's no shame to have time where you need time for yourself. And a big thing that I had to learn, which is even sometimes more difficult when you're alone, is something that Laura even told me today, is to slow down. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And even if your husband comes home and there's no food ready on the table, or the laundry is not done, just be open about it. Just be human. I mean, being in pain shows that that you have emotions, that you're ready to work on them. And I think, especially our children, they have this, I don't know, this, they're still so innocent, and they're not judging you for it. So don't be afraid to share it with them. And yeah, I think my daughter and me, we grew together through this, and she came out strong and I came out strong as well. So she has evolved a lot, and yeah, we did it kind of together, I believe. And that's the best thing you can do, in my opinion.
There's a lot of people on the Facebook page that are speaking about being a relative or spouse of someone in pain. And I always remembered how it's sometimes harder for the other person who's not in pain. So to be authentic and to share the process is not only, opening up, but supportive.
Mhm.
This is chemical. This is a chemical reaction. And you feel that support and love that you don't have to hide. In the Gabriel Mattai's book is when the body says no, because we're always saying yes, yes, yes. We really want to say no. And so the authenticity that you just shared, so very important. Laura, what was going on with you at the time when you were married and you had 2 daughters, and I couldn't imagine, being in a relationship and having problems, and how you develop the support and grace that you need during that time.
Well, I'll be honest with you, it was really hard. It was really hard. It did cause some issues in our marriage, I will say. Um, there was a disconnect between my daughters and myself, and I'm divorced now, actually. And it's actually, things do happen. I don't believe everyone that is in a relationship and the pain causes anguish needs to get a divorce. So I don't mean that. I just want to make that clear. Um, but I did get a divorce, and I will tell you though now, my children have seen what I've went through. They've seen me basically rise from the ashes completely, from being addicted to oxycodone and morphine to now.
Did you have 25 surgeries?
Not 20. No, I did not have 25 surgeries. I did have a few though. And they saw me rise like from the ashes and create my own business now, helping other people. And I will tell you, my relationship with my daughters now is even better than it ever could have been. And I think they learned a lot from my process of self care, having boundaries. And I still think they're still seeing me and learning from it. So my journey has had a trickle down effect on them.
Important information for families, individuals, for couples. And this is what I love about the community. We're here to support people. We're here to let people know they're not alone. That's why we meet so many amazing doctors like Scrivener and Clark. They're just enormously paternal, loving doctors, and the community is very, very powerful. And so it's important for the listeners to lean into our community, to reach out to coaches, to reach out to people. How many people that have healed are now, I meet them all the time, are now like, well, I'll talk to you on Facebook. Just message me. I'm like, what? Like, we call them, like, in Hebrew, we call them like sadiqim. Like, they're these like righteous people, because we just want to help others. Just want to help others. So I do want to ask you a few more questions, but Brian, any more questions from YouTube or from Facebook that we can answer? Can you describe the shift from intellectually understanding the mind-body connection to truly feeling it in your body for the first time? What did that feel like, Fabienne?
Let me think about it. To be honest, it was not all of a sudden. It was a process. And I mean, I did a lot of things simultaneously. So I was listening to a whole lot of podcasts, always looking for evidence and more evidence and proof that it is real. And then I believe a little bit what Laura said about you always will have, not you always, but you will find that if you starting to be a little bit more mindful and aware, you will see those proofs of evidence in your life as well and in your experience as well. So when I remember that at some point I was like, oh my God, did the pain just leave for like 10 minutes? Is that real? And then I talked to her and she said, well, Fabienne, if it leaves for 10 minutes, where did it go? So don't be sad or don't be upset that it came back. Just be happy and embrace the fact that it left. So I think it's like you gather more little pieces of evidence and you can gather them quite quickly. You just have to take the time to really look at it and not be just too much focused on the big picture. I have to be pain free, you know. You have to really like be conscious, whatever. English is my third language,
Word.
so
It's a good
sometimes I
word,
get
conscious.
yeah, that it's not from A to B, right? It's like you go one step and then maybe you fall back 2 steps, and then the next day, wow, there's proof again. So every little thing should be proof that you can move forward and take the time and gather evidence. And I think that's how it goes. And in my experience, unfortunately for me, there was no way around. Sometimes you hear about these book cures. That wasn't it for me. It took me quite some time, and honestly, it still goes on. So we're always healing and keep healing. So yeah.
With your healing in the beginning, what happened when you were on that table and the pain went away? What was going on? What did the person do? And how did you receive that? And then the pain left?
So for me, I read Dr. Schubner's book, Unlearn Your Pain, and I just started seeing myself on the pages, and I started compiling as much evidence as I could. And even the therapist that I was seeing at the time, well, are you sure it's not this? Are you sure you didn't physically check this? And I got to the point where I was like, nope, you're not going to tell me to check anything physically. This is a mind body condition. So I really took a lot of time to go into belief. And I really think that that's really important for people to really write down all the evidence that they have. Because I remember, I say this to people, sometimes they go on vacation and their pain leaves. And I say, well, did you take your pelvis with you on vacation or did it stay home? So here's more evidence that this is a mind body condition, because belief is important. It's not, you don't have to believe 100% in order to start the healing, but the more you can believe, the better.
Well, what you're both saying, and this is a key to take home to the listeners, is you developed a relationship with these sensations. You understood that, the fear around it wasn't going to help. And there's all this information about the fear and the secondary fear. And so you obviously had this relationship with the pain. And I call it like kind of having coffee with your pain, or taking your anger and your fear to the gym and just getting on with your life, as Dan Bobbio would say. So you met your sensations, and now when they happen, there's a relationship, like with your child. Hey, what's going on? What is the message? What are you saying? And I know it's sounding simple to the listeners, but this is the beginning process, because you're changing your brain. And what you both did without even knowing the big word back then, because I didn't even use the word neuroplasticity 6 years ago, is you were changing your brain. You're bringing your brain from fight and flight, to rest and digest. And now it's happening automatically. And this is what's available to our listeners. I know mine is TMS. My doubt now is, thanks, Tom, for being here, by the way, I can't rid myself of burning skin, mostly feet and legs. More fear, the worse it's gotten. What do you say, Laura, to that?
Well, the first thing that spoke to me was what they said, I can't rid myself of burning skin. And that's showing the brain that we can't do that. And it's going to bring you more evidence to make that true. And the first thing I would do is change how you're saying it. Maybe right now my skin doesn't feel as cool as I'd like. Because that sounds like a really scary statement to say. And it's also creating a lot of tension in the body and causing you to be in a sympathetic activation of your nervous system. So the first thing I would do is change how you're speaking to yourself about the sensations, and befriending the sensations.
You cannot heal a body you hate. Fabienne, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yes. I think if I go back, the panic about the symptoms is real. You know, if you are in so much pain that you believe that you'll never get out of it, and you're really in that deep struggle, just also don't push it away. You can say to yourself, "I'm really panicked right now. I'm really panicked right now," and then find some techniques that will slowly just calm yourself down, even if it doesn't calm the pain. Just try to calm yourself down with the techniques that Laura said: grounding, orienting, taking a small walk. What I did, because I had a lot of pain during COVID, I would just lay outside in the grass, or a lot of times I would lay in my bathroom because I have floor heating, and I just lay in my bathroom on the floor, just like that, just feeling the warmth of the floor helping me and carrying me, so that I could take my mind off of the pain for just a little bit, and maybe he can find something. And even if he has this burning sensation, even just lay on some ice or something cold that just takes his mind off of this thought and this panic of the symptoms. I remember sometimes I was taking an ice pack with me whenever I would ride in the car, so I just wouldn't feel the pain. I mean, I knew it was there. Or a lot of times, and that was before I met Laura, I put, because heat helped me as well, so I put heating packs on my lower back, so just to take my mind off of the pain and not be so focused on it all the time. And I think that helps. Every little thing that you can do that helps you get outside or off of this this acute
Focus, shift
panic
the focus.
state. Yeah, it
You
is
know,
okay.
it's interesting. I sat in this very room. I used to have a chair, and I had chronic pelvic pain, and I would sit here sometimes for 30 minutes to an hour and just pay attention to my feet and lean into a positive sensation in my body. And that was very helpful because we have tunnel vision onto our pain. But once I started leaning into positive sensations in my body and realizing that the body has sensations all over it, it it really was a major shift in my healing process.
Or what you were doing was, I mean, the science says that we can only focus on one thing at a time. So, I mean, this is science. This is not Tovah talk. This is science. So, if it's also the cellular network, which we learn about with Dr. Schubiner work, your brain chooses what's important. So you are the pilot. You are the pilot here, and I think we need to take our power back, and navigate ourselves and realize that this is a brain that's an organ. It's a programmed organ, and that we can control our thoughts, our focus, by kind of a letting go and realizing we have a choice. I'm going to choose to focus on my feet. I'm going to choose to get an ice pack and focus. And Tom, please text me or Facebook message me. There's a wonderful ice pack meditation that we learned in the pain reprocessing workbook from the ladies who wrote the workbook. It's an ice pack calming with ice, which I use a lot with my work. I mean, ice is cooling, it's calming. Most pain is a hot condition. When we're in fight or flight, we're in a hot condition. So reach out to me and I'll send you this ice pack meditation. We put the ice pack on your chest. So great that you brought that up. The next question, Bri, I think I saw a question that you had from Doris. 7 years ago, the bladder pain started. I wanted to end it all those first few years, went down all the avenues. found TMS work, and between that and finally finding a great OBGYN, I improved tremendously. Now, out of the blue, I'm in a month plus flare after probably a year and a half of little to no symptoms. I'm devastated. I don't understand why. Ladies, magic. There are some magic from your hearts. What do you say, Laura?
So flares are going to happen. And I would first thing is to have a lot of compassion for yourself right now. Give yourself a lot of love. It's just a part of you right now, maybe needing a little attention, maybe needing a little more love. Maybe it even has a message for you. I obviously don't know your entire story, but I would maybe just start thinking for a moment, what was happening in my life right before this flare happened again? And it's very normal. Everybody has pain. We can't take away pain from the world, but our reaction to it can help if we just respond to it with love and compassion. So just thinking back, what was happening right before? Was there a fight with your partner? Was there some stressful event going on? Um, did you go back to old habits of not implementing self care in your life? Were you out of balance or overwhelmed? And again, I don't know, but I want you to know that this is completely normal that this happens. You're not alone. It's okay to have a flare up. Everybody gets a headache sometimes. Everybody gets a stomach ache sometimes. It doesn't mean it's going to become chronic again. So give it some love and give it some attention and let it speak.
To that, Laura, and to the guest, to this person asked the question, Doris, I think, your body speaks to you. The symptoms have a message. And if it went on 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, it sounds like it's a long time again. It could be an extinction burst is when the body doesn't body does not distinguish between whether you could be excited, sad, happy. The body's triggered. The body's dysregulated. The brain is dysregulated and experiencing all sorts of triggers from you, putting you in fight or flight, and it's stuck. It's like the brain is hijacked. So what if you just be patient, like Fabienne had mentioned, and just know my body is not punishing me. My body's protecting me, and I have an amazing brain. And yes, it's happening, and the symptoms are in the same place because there's a neuropathway. It's called Wolf's Law, that the body just goes right back to that pathway and just go back to building your new pathway. It's there. The old pathway's there. The new neurocircuit's there. Go back and habitually just feed the new neurocircuit with compassion and love. Trust this process and know that this is a journey. This is a chapter. And, like Dr. Clark would always say, always asking the question, like, why are people not getting better? Why did it return? What's the flare? And he'll be like, the body and the brain are just still not ready to let go of their protection. They're still finding a reason to protect you. The symptoms are neuroplastic, and there's still a reason, unconscious many times, that your body is still in protective mode or threat physiology. And so trust this.
And
Please interrupt.
I think what's important here as well is, like, she mentioned the OB-GYN that helped her. And if I were her, I don't know how this doctor helped her. Was it by some mind body approaches, or was it some kind of treatments? But she could go back into how she felt when this person took care of her, because probably she needs to be taken care of right now. And when this person took care of her, she got better. And now maybe she can learn to take care of herself with some self-compassion, or she finds somebody that can maybe hug her or just tell her it's going to be all right. Because sometimes I just called Laura and I was so upset. And when I heard her voice and she just said, it's going to be okay, Fabienne, that helped tremendously. So maybe she could go back and think about what helped her in the first place, and then use that, this comfort that the doctor gave her or the care that he gave her. That's what helped me also.
I think there's one last question. And by the way, we're answering questions here. We have a few more minutes. If anyone has any questions at all, tonight or tomorrow, there'll be a polished version of our live. It'll be a recording on the TMS RoundTable YouTube. Maybe Laura will post it as well. Please ask questions in the YouTube. Please ask questions to Facebook. Laura is available on social media. Fabienne, I can find her and I'll connect you to Fabienne if you have any questions for her. And I'm always available to answer questions. So please, it's not over tonight, but we're really excited to be dialoguing with you. Last question, Bri. What happens to the diagnosis structurally? The pain goes away, but are there any physical changes in the body, like in cases of endometriosis or endomyosis? I'd like to just answer that for a minute. What we're studying is that people with MS, God forbid, are showing plaques on their myelin sheath, but they're not having symptoms. So what we've discovered and what I've learned in my field, and Laura and Fabienne has probably gotten some wind of this, but I know I study it a little bit more intensely, is that the MRIs, the ultrasounds, the CAT scans are not indicative anymore of what's actually going on. Remember, an X-ray is a momentary picture. So we cannot trust this objective evidence as much. It's an indication. It tells us something. It's a moment. It's a picture. But we put many other things together to come up with the reality of the diagnosis or the prognosis. So just in response to that, it's a little bit of a long answer, but your symptoms are one thing. Your symptoms are less, more. This is one indication that you're improving. Your relationship with your body is an indication. Your brain living in fight or flight, moving into parasympathetic from sympathetic, all these different things are indications of improvement. We've even, studied, I know Laura and I have studied about, outcome independence or, not being attached to the outcome, noticing other things, noticing that you can shift your focus. So just an answer to that question, that's just my answer about not giving too much power to the structural diagnosis. I think that answered your question. Did you see the question, Laura?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Endo can be kind of tricky. There are people with endometriosis that have pain, and then there are people with endometriosis that have no pain. And I will tell you, I was officially diagnosed with endometriosis, and I do not have pain. And even if there is something happening structurally, and let's say we think it could be the cause of your pain, this work can actually help anyway. Just by calming the nervous system, bringing the breath to that area of the body, it can actually reduce your symptoms regardless. And I have other clients that I've interviewed on my podcast that have had endo, and they also are not experiencing symptoms. That's not to diminish or say that yours is not. It's one of those kind of tricky ones, I think.
Well, I was diagnosed with adenomyosis as well, so I had that diagnosis as well, and I believe that same thing. I don't have pain anymore, and it's kind of the same thing than the classic herniated discs. Like, you can have them, you can see them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to cause pain. When it comes to endometriosis and you have, or even adenomyosis, and you have the wish of getting pregnant as a woman, Of course, maybe you need some intervention to get rid of the damaged tissue or something, but it does not have to cause pain. And as far as I have read reports, even I think it's 1 out of 10 women that have endometriosis or adenomyosis, but it's not 1 out of 10 people that are in pain. And I even have now a lot of female friends in my that I've met that had surgery because they couldn't get pregnant, but they never had pain. So they only found out they had this kind of, I don't like to call it disease, but like structural thing going on, and they never had pain. They only realized it when they tried to get pregnant. So
so much knowledge. I'm just so blessed to be surrounded by really smart, sensitive, strong women. I've not had pain like either of you, and yet I just feel so blessed to be learning about it and be able to be the bridge to help people heal and recover. So I feel very, very grateful to have you be in this place. And I want to thank you both for joining me tonight. Again, you're available. There'll be a description in the YouTube where you can reach out to Fabienne on Facebook and Laura on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm just really grateful. Any last words of inspiration to the listeners before we say goodnight? Good afternoon.
go ahead, Laura.
So I just want to say, number one, thank you for having me here. I'm actually honored to be here again. It's been so long, and it really changed a lot for me after that. And I just want to tell people that are listening, you can heal. And the number one component for me for healing from chronic pain was joy. Bringing little bits of joy back into your life. I don't mean you have to go take an art class. I'm like, that's fine if you do. But even if you can bring in tiny moments throughout the day, a nice cup of tea, a phone call to a friend, start bringing joy back into your life and create a neural pathway for joy.
Again, a few words.
Yeah. Also, thank you very much for having me and giving me the opportunity to talk to people. I really hope that I can help some people get better. It's what Laura said about the joy. I would say it's important that you realize that you are not your pain. It's not your pain that defines you. And you have so much left in your life, usually, that you can how can I say this, that you could like look at and have pleasure, even if you have the pain at the same time. You know, you're a person, you're a human being, you have friends and you have families, and the pain is just a little part, because a lot of times it's like we get so absorbed by the pain that the pain becomes our new identity. And I would say, just remember, you are not your pain. You are much more than that.
Oh, have a wonderful night, Fabienne in Luxembourg. Have a wonderful afternoon, Laura. Bless your hearts.
You too.
All the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.